Do we have quorum? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We do. All right. All right. Let me see what other documents I have on here. Bringing everybody in. Hi, Tom.
Hello.
So we'll get started and then I'll bring you in, okay?
Okay.
Phil's on by Zoom, it looks like. Got a few more popping in, so we'll just give it one more minute. And other than Mr. Dillon, if you're not part of the board, please turn off your camera. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to call the special meeting of the Board of Education, June 29th at 6:30 to order, please. And start with the pledge of allegiance. One nation, justice for all. I'm going to go ahead and go into public comment. I would like to get a motion to move 6A up to right between public comment and administrative. I have a guest on with us for a few minutes and I'd like him to be able to leave as quickly.
Sure, I'll make a motion to move up 6A, school safety,
After public.
after
comment.
public comment.
Okay.
I second that.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, any public comment? Seeing any, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna move into school safety. I have Tom Dillon with us tonight, and just to give you a little bit of background, we started talking about this at our last meeting, and in having some conversation with a gentleman that I know, he works as a security guard at Windsor High School, and let me know about Tom and what Tom does. And Tom is the Director of School Safety and Security at South Windsor, but he also does security and safety consulting and auditing of other schools and their processes. So I had a really nice conversation with him. I did ask him to share with us a little bit about what he does and what kind of services he offers if we want to start reviewing what our safety looks like, and kind of get a read on that. So Tom, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Appreciate the invite tonight, and I hope I can give you the information you're looking for. Like you were told, I am the Director of School Security and for South Windsor Public Schools. And that's for the entire district, all 7 schools. I've been doing school security and safety since my retirement from the police department about 15 years ago. How it normally works with schools that I come and I audit or I review is we normally start with the state mandated school safety and security plan. I'll review that and audit that to make sure that each piece that requires compliance is done so, and it's done so in a timely manner, because there's several pieces that have to be actually completed and reviewed and handed in by certain dates. So that's where I normally start off, is the all hazard plan. And then I'll move into vulnerability assessments of each facility to make sure that we're not vulnerable in certain areas that we shouldn't be. And many schools that I do, I found out that at least recently that they're pretty squared away when it comes to access control and any issues that might result in some vulnerability to the school district themselves. We also look at there as part of the state mandated plans, back when the Sandy Hook Advisory Commission developed this plan along with the state police, there are 12 standards that have to be followed in each security plan for each school district. And that's mandated by state statute. This is where many of the schools that I do get hung up on. Doing the actual all hazard plan is only one of the standards. There's 11 others that require quite a bit of involvement by the school district themselves and quite a bit of monitoring, which is where I usually come in. So I'll review those at the same time. We also look at two big pieces of the plan itself is your emergency drill logs. Those are also mandated by state statute, and those have been in place for years where each school district, and you're probably aware of it, and forgive me for repeating myself, but that you have to do 12 emergency drills every year, and you can substitute 3 of those drills for any other emergency type drill that you wish. Most school districts will do lockdown drills. The question becomes is, are they doing them correctly? Are they being assessed by public safety? Are the logs themselves being properly filled out, and are they filled out in a timely manner? Those logs themselves have to be administered and handed in every July 1st. That's where a lot of school districts sometimes get hung up, where they don't get them in on time, or they're not done, or they're forgotten, and then the state comes knocking at your door and wanting to know where the drill logs are. One of the last pieces I look at is, because it's so involved, is reunification plans, to see where the district is in planning for a reunification. Because it's so extensive and so time consuming, and it, no matter what you do, it becomes a nightmare. You can have the best plan laid out, and it's overwhelming. So with those plans, they need to be devised in particular areas, and in a particular manner that reduces the most amount of liability to a school district. If God forbid something major was to happen, you had to evacuate and reunify the parents with your students. Those, I know I kind of breezed through them very quickly, but those are probably the most important pieces that I review for school districts. Some can be quite lengthy depending on the size of your schools, the number of schools. But I've been doing these, like I said, since the Sandy Hook Advisory Commission came out 2014, 2015. So I've seen every change, every added annex. Many of the new districts, the new schools plans that school districts have done recently are still not in compliance because they haven't added 2 particular annexes, which are an annex for emergency procedures for the hard of hearing, and then there's emergency procedures for the physically handicapped. Each one of those annexes is probably 20, 30, 40 pages long, and it's quite cumbersome for a district to pare it down enough where they can actually add it to their current plan. We've done that. I've done that. It just saves a lot of time and effort on a district if I was to come in and do that. So like I said, those are about the 4 or 5 main steps that I take when I come into a school district. And it's usually in that order where I first review or audit your standing all hazard school and safety plan. And then I go into the vulnerability assessments, which are also a piece of the plan that has to be done and updated every 2 years and handed in, which is a big piece of where most districts get tripped up when they don't hand them in. And like I said, then the state ends up auditing one of your plans and you're getting a phone call about missing pieces. So that's about it as far as what I do. I do other things as we move along that, we can talk about. I also meet with principals and staff of a particular school, and we go over lockdowns and we go over how to set up different scenarios and how they do them correctly and those type of things. And I'll sit down with the admin team at a school and just a question and answer session with admin teachers or whoever wants to come in and talk about certain things. Because there's always questions that many don't get asked or many can't be answered by the school district themselves. So I do offer that also. So,
Tom, can I speak, Christine? Is that all right?
Yep.
So, Tom, Tom, you're going to be the last meeting I will have tomorrow in my 47-year career. So we're going to meet at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, and I'm going to take you through the physical
Okay.
buildings themselves. We submit our plan by November 1st every year, which obviously is signed off by the fathers. We've done. I just turned in June 1st, around the first week in June. Our logs. Our logs go to Mike Caplet in Region 4 because that's who
Okay.
we report to. We've done 2 audits. The last one I did because I wrote a grant, but they weren't going to give us the money for what I was looking for because we just did a building project,
Right.
and they gave us like $29 million. But every time that we do a drill, whether it's a fire drill or lockdown, we have the state police with us, we have the fire marshal with us, and we have the emergency
Good.
management director. So I'd be interested to see with another set of eyes looking at everything, and it all has a plan. Again, even though I won't be here, I'd be interested to see how good a job we do as a district. So I'll be looking forward to meeting with you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. I'll meet you at the new Wheeler High School, okay, which is the larger building that was recently built, and we'll go with it from there.
Great. Yeah, that sounds great with, because that's where, like I said, a lot of school districts get tripped up. They don't do enough of assessing their emergency drills. And even me, when I first started doing this for South Windsor, but when they audited one of our plans, that's exactly what they went to, is the emergency drills, and they want to make sure that they're being assessed by public safety. So that's great that you guys are doing that much, because most schools don't. So,
And just to confirm for the board and everybody listening, we haven't signed up with Tom at all for anything. His schedule's crazy. So he does offer the walk through the buildings first, without any contract or anything signed up at this point. So I did schedule him to do that. I don't think it would hurt to have somebody walk through and do that. It's not going to be any charge to the district. And then we can decide how we want to continue to move forward at looking at our safety and our plan. And this way, Tom will at least be familiar with our buildings. Okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely on board. No
Okay.
doubt.
All right. Does anybody have any other questions for Tom right now? I mean, it's certainly very preliminary. We're just sort of getting started, but I just wanted him to share his knowledge and some of the things that he does so that everybody understands where we're at.
I just had a quick question. Is this a walkthrough? Does it have a report, and will we be able to see that report, or how does that work?
normally it's not a physical document. I'll have a conversation with the superintendent and we'll talk as we walk, but it's just a brief walkthrough and try to get a picture of exactly where you guys stand, especially facilities wise.
Okay, thank you.
I'll see you tomorrow morning, Tom.
Sounds great.
Thanks.
Right. From there, we would go to the proposal. Tom, I will be in touch with you after the walkthrough, and certainly if we continue to move forward and decide this is the direction we need to go, we'll have many more conversations, and then you'll be in contact with our new superintendent, Troy.
Great. I commend you guys, because I do the same thing. Even though I've been in South Windsor for 4 years, last year I brought a buddy of mine in from Enfield who's in charge up there to assess our stuff, to make sure it's always pays to have a second set of eyes on things. And I commend you guys for making that effort. So,
All right. Thank you so
Great.
much for your time. I really appreciate it, and we'll talk soon.
great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
So just any other thoughts on that? I just think getting an assessment of where we're at is really important before we decide to do anything. If my thought is that if we ever, after an assessment, we would certainly want to bring in a parent group and teacher groups and do a deep dive before we make any changes. Certainly before we'd put on resource officers or anything like that. But I think it's really good to get a baseline of where we're at in light of what has happened. So any other feedback from you guys? And like I said, we're not committed to him by any means. I just grabbed him when I could because his schedule's already filling up, and he said, I'll walk through. It's not going to cost you anything. I said, come on over. So, yeah, right. Any other comment on that before we move on? Steph?
I just want to make sure that as we start to be more serious about moving forward with this, and I know that this seems like it was like a scheduling thing, so that makes a ton of sense, but that we're leveraging the resources that we have And so we're including Gary Barron in those talks. And whatever, I know that there's some sort of team. Obviously, Trooper McCarthy would be involved in something like that. I think there's someone else at Troop E that does some coordination of emergency stuff with the town. And so maybe talking to them about.
Yeah, could you
some
reach
of-
out to him and see what kind of things they would offer?
yeah, I mean, it's fine.
That'd be
And
great.
perhaps you want to reach out to Bob Carlson, who I know sits and meets with them as a part of them, but perhaps if everyone got together and worked, we could sort of make sure that we're not reinventing the wheel and maybe just creating a bigger, stronger team.
Okay, sounds good. Peter, did you have anything else to add to that?
Well, again, we just had another team effort between town, Troop E and the state, a drill about 3 weeks ago. It was at the end of May, maybe 4 weeks ago at the end of May. So we do coordinate. And again, Mike Caplett's operation at Troop E. And Gary Barron is involved with every decision that we make. And that's why he comes in for our drills to audit those drills. So I think Troy's going to be coming into a good situation if Tom is going to be providing any information and which we work. What I've always said is that, to be honest with you, is that some of the drills that we have are weather drills. And to me, they're a waste of time for us, because when we're going to have bad weather, other than a tornado coming through, for the most part, school is canceled. I've requested that they have more specific drills in terms of a potential harm that could come to a school other than weather, because I think that's what we need to work on.
Okay.
Yeah, my thought is, I agree, nice to leverage the other folks, but I'd like to see a SME or subject matter expert involved that does nothing but schools.
Yep.
In addition to what the police, they may have a different take, but as long as we have somebody that works with school systems as part of the team.
Yep.
Be Tom or somebody else, that's what yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I definitely think we want to start looking into this. So like I said, we certainly haven't committed anything to this gentleman. We are not in that direction. He offered the walkthrough and I said, it certainly can't hurt. So we'll take that step. And then I think we need to just start having the conversations to make sure we're doing everything we can as a Board of Education to keep our kids as safe as possible.
Christine, do you have any idea what the cost is for something like the services that someone like Tom would? provide?
Yeah, so he said for his services, not counting this walkthrough, but if we did decide
Like
to
a
move forward with him.
consultation sort of thing?
Yeah, to do the whole review of the 12 standards from the state and the whole thing that he was just talking about is about $3,500 to $4,500 per building.
And is that like a one-time thing, or does the
Yes.
consultant like sort of stay?
I didn't get that deep into it because I really didn't think we were at that point yet.
Yeah.
I hadn't asked for a bid per se or anything like
Yeah.
that. I just thought, let's just have somebody walk through. I've had some parents reach out saying, what, are you doing anything?
Yeah.
And then I think as a board, we need to decide what are our next steps. Is this a direction we want to go, and what would we want out of that service? Or do we want to go, like I got something in the mail the other day from a big company that does it, Mutual Link. So there's lots of companies out there that do it, or do we want to just do the local approach? I mean, I think there's a lot of investigating we need to do there, but I didn't want to have this guy come over and walk through the building without you guys knowing it either. So
Yeah, certainly it
Anyway.
sounds like having a subject matter expert from the school is a good idea.
So we'll leave it on the agenda moving forward, and I think we'll just continue to have some discussion on that, if that's okay with everybody. Okay. All right, so we're gonna move into administrative minutes and officially welcome you to the table. Sorry. It's good to have you. Need to turn your mic on. All right, perfect.
Very glad to be here. Thank you.
We do need to get approval of minutes from the June 15th meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the Board of Education minutes, special meeting dated June 15th, 2022.
I'll second that.
Discussion?
I just have one change. One change to one word on the last page. Mrs. Mastriani felt pulling the RFP is immature. The word was premature that I used. I didn't want anyone to think that I thought Chuck's motion was immature. Premature.
All right, I just have a less significant change. I just have a misspelling on my name from number 7. Towel like so. No, it's okay. It happens.
So
No matter how many times Robbie and I go over these minutes, we miss something.
it's all right. They're easy ones. Do you want to amend your motion?
I'll make an amendment to the motion, to include the corrections as outlined by Jamie and Stephanie.
I second the amended motion.
Any other comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain. I actually have some correspondence, if that's okay, Peter.
Absolutely. That's an important one.
All right. Dear Christine, I am resigning my position on the North Stonington Board of Education effective June 29, 2022, so that I can take a position as science teacher at Wheeler High School. You can guess that I'm already planning for the fall and looking forward for the opportunity to guide our Wheeler juniors and seniors as they learn and practice the skills and concepts needed to master chemistry and physics. I am proud that I can serve our town and our students as a high school teacher. It does mean that I need to leave the Board of Education. Just as I am proud to join the faculty at Wheeler High School, I am proud that I've been a board member for the past 5 years. The board has accomplished significant work in that time. The two of us worked diligently in 2018 to educate ourselves about the benefits of later start times for high school students, and then recommended a change to the school start time at Wheeler Middle High School. That effort had us thinking about sports schedules, after-school care, and bus routes, and we were ultimately able to give our teens 30 additional minutes of sleep in the morning. The board worked with CABE to implement the results of the 2017 policy audit. Further audit work done by Vin Mustaro in 2021 enabled us to significantly reduce the number of board policies. It is fortuitous that we voted on this at our most recent meeting. Our board's most important accomplishment was successfully navigating the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic, supporting our administrators, staff, and students as we returned in-person learning in March 2021, while many schools continued with remote learning. Our board members were thoughtful as we considered and balanced the academic needs, mental health, and safety of our students. Thank you for your support and the opportunity to serve our town. Jen Wellborn. So she's not on tonight. She has another priority, but congratulations, Jen. We're getting an awesome teacher, so it's a bittersweet move for sure. I'll tell you, my daughter was jumping up and down when she heard who her new teacher was going to be next year, so we're really, really excited. So that kind of brings us up to, we now have a vacancy. I don't think we have to rush to do anything immediately. We are in the summer months. We have had a very good success getting quorums. So I did give everybody a copy of the bylaws that we had recently updated on our last vacancy. And I will probably reach out to the Democratic Party to let them know that we have a vacancy on our side. I'm sure they're already aware. And then I think at our next meeting, if you guys want to start thinking about the process that we want to do for filling that. Okay.
Yeah, I just want to say that I'll miss Jen. I think she did an incredible job. She always was able to kind of step back, reassess, and kind of bring some reason to a lot of the discussions we had. So obviously incredible job in organizing the policies, and I just really enjoyed working with her in the input. So I hope the best, and I agree. We're going to get a great teacher out of the deal. So
For sure. We do need to fill her position as the secretary on the Board of Ed. So if anybody wants to nominate somebody for that position.
Did anybody step out of the room so that you can nominate him? Teasing.
Nope.
I would,
We didn't think that fast.
I would like to nominate Jamie for the position of secretary. I think that she'd do a wonderful job. I think she's
Second it.
meticulous and
Second it.
organized. All right, I won't even go into an explanation.
If she walked out of the room, they would have made a chairperson.
All right. Any other discussion? Do you want to go elaborate at all, Chet? All right. I think Jamie would be a great addition as well. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain. Congratulations, Madam Secretary.
Thank you.
I think that
Personnel.
includes serious policy work. So you might want to just reach out to Jen, and I'm sure she'd be happy to go through with you with what she's got and where she's at currently. Okay, thank you. Personnel.
So I'm super pleased to announce the appointment of Jen Wellborn. She comes to us, for those of you who are in certification, you need to understand, she has dual certification. She has an 031 in chemistry and an 032 in physics, which are in physics, as you know, we had to have Colleen Harlick, when Colleen was here, 2 years to go through the process of getting certification. To have that and to have a physics teacher is just extraordinary. Her credentials are she's a graduate of the University of Michigan, the College of Engineering, and she's done advanced work at in Central Florida. Not too many people know that, but Jen was in the Navy. She used her college degree while she's in the Navy and also professionally at Pfizer. She was hired when she was in Colchester at Bacon Academy. She received 4 years of industry Navy experience, which is pretty pro forma for someone of her caliber. She's coming to us going from the 7th to the 8th step. I will tell you that in Rhode Island, a physics teacher coming out of college will demand 10th, 11th, to 12th step, to be honest with you, because they're so hard and few to far and to find in between. Because I know I was an administrator in high school as well as superintendent of schools. So I'm recommended to the board. Her appointment's all set. Her appointment was based on the fact that of the board accepting her resignation, which you have, and also that approval of step 8 for Jen coming in. So I'm asking for the board to approve her at step 8.
I make a motion to approve the position for Jen Wellborn at step 8.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstain.
Got an excellent physics chemistry teacher. You don't get many with that dual certification. We have one more appointment, and that's the business manager. And I spoke with Troy just the last couple of days. And I said, Troy, if you're happy with this person, why don't you explain the person's credentials and the person you would like to be working side by side with you? So Troy, grab a mic. You're on cue.
All right, are we not going into executive session first to discuss that?
It's up to you guys. If you want to go into executive session, Troy, then come out and make that decision.
I think we should.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. When we come out, we can have that discussion if that's okay with you, Troy? Okay, all right. Is everybody okay with that? All right. I just kind of want to stick on the agenda the way it's
Yeah.
listed, Peter.
Yeah. So when you go into executive session, I won't go in with you. Okay. I mean, it should be his recommendation, but I need to be there when you come out. So just text me when you come out.
Okay. Anything else under your reports?
Not on the personnel, other than the fact that I think, Troy, you will admit the transition is going as smooth as possible. I keep feeding him emails. Last week, we were fortunate that we were able to get together with Kate Erickson, who's the executive director of Lurin, along with Jack Cross, who is with us, to explain to him all the different things that they can offer, including some business help, bookkeeping help, and all of those different things. So we had a great meeting that day. I think you'll agree, Troy, and that's about it. I was in Atlanta for a few days with my son, where we'll be starting his new position. So, you know, and trying to clear up some things, including hiring staff. So.
Yeah, if I could just piggyback on that real quick, I do want to recognize Peter Nero for all his help in the transition. I can't tell you how many emails and CC'd me on, and I also appreciate his sense of humor. Example, I won't say who the email was to when I was CC'd on, but it was, you know, I told Troy, you're a really nice guy. Don't disappoint me.
That was to Gary Barron, by the way.
I wasn't gonna say a name. But I do really appreciate Peter's help, and he's offered that I can call him even after July 1st. And I'm sure I will call him a few times at least. And it's been really helpful to gain from his perspective and what he knows about the district and the people, you know, to really introducing me to people has really been helpful. So I'm very thankful to Peter.
My pleasure. You'll do a great job. I know you will.
Anything else, Mr. Nero?
No, that's it. Tomorrow I wrap up everything, and I thank you folks for everything. It's been one heck of a ride. So as I said, the last meeting, and like I said to Troy, the sooner he gets on his own, I know the better it'll be. But if he needs me to come in to go over anything with him, even when we get to the annual report, Troy, you'll be calling the weather in the morning. The people around here will start on a Monday. If the weather's going to be snow on a Friday, I'll be happy to go over that whole procedure. I know Robbie said we'd be willing somewhere when we get to October, if you want to have both Robbie and I in, and we can have the town in to discuss, the procedure. So you don't make any mistakes making those calls. So like I said, I'll always be here for you. I'm only 12 and a half miles away here in Westerly.
Thank you, Peter.
You're welcome.
I don't have most of the things that we're going to just cover tonight. We've been working on the secretary's contract, obviously the facility director interviews, just working on the transition at the central office, staying in contact with Troy and Peter and Deb, and everything's moving in the right direction. So we're going to get there, I think. I know, we're very excited. So we have no old business now. We do need to award the food service contract. We only had one bid on that, correct, Deb? Would you like to look at it, Chet? Okay.
Yeah, separately, I'd like to look at the scoring sheet.
Pick them up on your way out.
Sure, I'll look at it. No doubt.
Why do I have no doubt that Alex will look at it?
No, it's a big impact for the kids, obviously, as we talked about the food services in general. So that's why I have interest in, okay.
There were 3 of us that scored, even though it was 1 that came in, we still went through the motions, made sure that all the points were hit. Scored.
Grab the mic deck, please.
So there were three individuals that scored. We had an administrator, a secretary, and then myself that scored the contract, that the proposal that came in, and they scored at 91.67 of 100%. So that's not too bad. What we talked about in finance too is that we'd like to see a little more maybe a salad bar at the high school. And now that COVID is almost behind us entirely, I think that you may want to move in that direction. We do have monthly meetings that have to occur, and we bring in the students, we bring in staff, we bring in parents, the PTO sometimes. That person is one and the same, a parent, PTO member, administrator, and we meet at each school separately so that the perspective is from their view as a student. And we like to see when it comes around and they get to see what they asked for come through. And so Aramark has really done well for us in the past, and they were the bidder that came through again. We had 2 that showed up for the walkthrough, but the other did not put in a proposal. So we are moving. Peter, I'm not sure if you want to take over at that point.
Yeah, when I first got here, there was our relationship with Aramark was a lot to be desired, to be honest with you. And then what happened was I kind of dug my heels in right after my first year, and they changed the manager that works closely with us. At the time, the gentleman's name was Brett Nadeau. And then now with the new person that we have, who's been with us, I guess, about 4 years now, it's so important to have a good point person. And we work with John McGrath, and who's great, who's the regional guy. In fact, when we were going through issues last year with COVID and having enough staff, he brought staff in from Westerly. He came in himself. We did as well. Me, Deb, everyone put on caps and serve students. They're just a great team. And we used to run deficits when I got here and after my first year, and we don't do that anymore. We run pretty healthy surpluses, which allows us, because it's an enterprise account, to put the money right back into food service. We can't use it for anything else. I told Troy that I send a letter out every year to our parents explaining how that works, so that when we run deficits, we have to take money out of our general fund to pay for those deficits. But the surpluses, we don't have to touch anything, and we can use it for supplies, for food service, for equipment that breaks down and whatnot. And we have not run a deficit in the last 8 years. So I'm very pleased. We have two great vendors that we work with. One is in food service with Aramark, and the other one is the bus company with M&J, and they've been both great people to work with. And I highly recommend that we continue to go with Aramark. They are the only bidder. Don't get me wrong, but they're a great organization.
Can we get a motion?
I'll make a motion to continue the contract or new contract with Aramark Food Services.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Is there a price or what's do they go up in their fees or what's the financial aspect?
The only price associated is an administrative fee and a management fee, but they are self-sufficient, so they pay from everything is paid for by the food service program, and they have guaranteed a break-even point. Generally, if there's money made, we get the money back and it goes into that enterprise account. But again, like Peter mentioned, if there is for some reason a shortfall, that does come from the general fund, but there's a substantial balance right now that we would actually need to probably purchase a few things for the food service department in order to move forward. There was also, going forward, there was recently a waiver, and the foods, the serving of lunches is going to be continuing, but they're also doing a higher reimbursement rate, and that's continuing as well. So the likelihood of a break even is probably more that they would be sending us a check.
So I assume their employees would get a annual raise, and then their management fees are going up. So that goes, how do they pay for it?
However they manage their business, we don't know.
So there's no,
The management fees is what they bill us on a monthly
Okay,
basis.
okay.
So the administrative fee is $750, and the management fee is $850. And their personnel are theirs, so we don't oversee that. But as part of the bid, they had to provide some personnel and what they do for training, what they do for professional development, and what benefits they give their employees as well. So it's all part of it, the hours they work and making sure that the personnel is being taken care of.
Okay.
And that all laws are being followed.
And so if there's overage in that account right now, we could use that to maybe purchase a salad bar, if that's what we wanted to
Right,
look
and
at.
that's the thing, we could certainly look at that, once we do the financials. It's generally not until the end when all the claims come in.
Yep.
But it's usually around, the end of August, September, even October, that those. And we also look like maybe digital displays, that's another thing that they had out there. And what they've guaranteed as part of this proposal too was to do some, a little more with the high school to promote the programs that are there as part of their salad menus and that kind of thing. So that when we have a theme going on, that they're incorporating into their menus and such to really bring more energy.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Oh, I just wanted to ask one
Oh,
quick question.
yep.
How is a surplus run? How does that work, that there would be a surplus?
Well, we could use, for example, when we did the building project, when we had to buy an addition to what the equipment was in the building project, we could buy that. If a compressor went, we could use it through the surplus account. We can't use the enterprise account to supplant anything within our own budget other than the federal guidelines, the USDA, and what we can do in food service. So that's what we use it for.
I think she's wondering, how do we get a
Yeah,
surplus?
I'm wondering how we get a surplus.
Because kids who file for free and reduced lunch, their summers are up, that we service a lot of our students, so we get reimbursements from the federal government for doing that. It's not because we overcharge our kids. So just to let you know, because I don't think we've ever gone to you guys for a price increase.
And part of the surplus that we currently are experiencing is because of COVID, everybody received free lunches, and everything we served went to the state as a free lunch, so they reimbursed at 100% at a higher rate. So that's what built the surplus.
Okay, thank you. That makes sense.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained. Great.
Thank you all. Troy, this is something you won't have to worry about for the next 3 to 5 years, so you got a contract.
Just so plans, you've probably seen it and you might remember that each year.
Every
bring
year
to
we do
you
it, yeah.
That it's renewable, it's a 5-year contract, but it's renewable on an annual basis. So it's still something that the business manager or the director of finance will need to do and look at each year and have approved through the state. The process to do this is incredible. I'm not sure if you've been part of that, or I think you had self-op in Ashford, right? So, yeah, so the state actually has to approve everything before it goes out. So it has to meet a lot of different state and USDA guidelines. So it is a detailed process. And then the HFC, which is the Healthy Food Certification, is also part of it. And that's what you approve every year for the exemptions to serve maybe soda and candy outside of school.
Okay,
Those are still things that you'll see.
thank you. So the facilities and finance met prior to the meeting. Did you want to go
Sure.
over some of that?
Yeah, we had some really good discussion on some topics, including the budget. I had a series of questions I forwarded, and there were a lot of responses that we discussed. I guess, Deb, maybe you can send it to the rest of the board at some point in time, or?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
I will, like I said, in my email, you didn't see it yet, but I will complete the remaining answers and send it to everyone.
Okay, great. You know, some of the highlights was on transportation and maybe setting up a committee on that due to the expense as the overall percentage of the budget, and getting some other folks involved on that committee to dive in a little bit more and see if we want to make any changes. We also talked about more visibility in budget transfers and year-end summaries. You know, we used to do the voting on budget transfers by line item, so we talked about maybe changing that a little bit to make it more useful for us to kind of assess how do we modify or tailor budgets based on what the actuals are, because I think it gets washed away sometimes by just doing the transfers, and then you look at a number and you get to wonder what the heck happened in that number type of thing. So I think that will certainly will work.
Yeah, so we'd
Hey,
like to
Alex, do you-
instead,
oh,
oh,
sorry.
go ahead. I was just gonna say, just to confirm, instead of transferring so that every line item zeroes out, we kind of want to see where the shortfalls and the
Yeah.
long falls are.
Okay,
and
that's,
leave it
I was
that
gonna
way.
ask, so we'd have like a negative and a positive column that would be next to each
Just-
line item,
just
showing where it
leave it that
was,
way.
and then
Yeah,
seeing where
you'll
it
see
came
in the
up.
financial statements as they are.
'Cause the
I would
bottom line's
like
the
to see that,
bottom
because I'd
line.
like to see where we save, where
Yeah.
we lose at the end of the
Yep.
year. I think that's great.
And then we'll get a year-end vendor report, which is one of my last items, which is useful because you get to see who we send money to and what amount do they get per fiscal year. Along those lines, I'd like to make a motion to approve the May 1st to June 10th financial statement.
I'll second that.
Discussion, I just wanted to point out a couple of quick things. We were able to order our Chromebooks for next year out of this budget, which is going to help us get them ahead of time. So they'll be ready to hand out. And then also we were able to get some instructional supply going as well. We are concerned about utility costs. So if we can get a few of those things going, that might help us with some of the utilities, especially where we're seeing diesel fuel right now and everything else on the buses. So
Do we have a delivery date on the Chromebooks at all?
what's that?
Do we have a delivery date on the Chromebooks?
No, not yet.
I can follow up with that and include it with my response. if you'd like.
Okay, that'd be great. Thanks, Deb.
Do we have a comparison yet with the electric company
A comparison with the, can you tell me more?
from the years in the past now with the new?
With the solar? you
Solar.
mean? We did get something from Christine Diaz a while back. I can send that out again. That gives kind of an idea. We are starting to experience a little bit of savings, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've had, everything's on such a rise that I don't think we're gonna see the savings in a comparison like we thought we would right now, but just because of inflation. I mean, there's just nothing you can do. Oh, I'm sure. All right, any other discussion on this financial? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained. All right. The next thing I want to discuss, we want to discuss a little bit is on the non-lapsing. We have a couple of things that got prioritized by the administrators, and then there was something else. You guys have the financial statement for June on the non-lapsing. There's 2 items on there that we pulled out of this year's budget and reallocated to get the budget where we wanted it. They're on the last two items. One of is the interactive displays. Those are in, but we haven't paid for them yet. And the other one is the elementary school computer lab. Those haven't been ordered yet, but we could get them ordered this year, in this year's budget, if we wanted to put those things back in this budget and not pay for them out of the non-lapsing account.
I did verify, those are already here as well.
The computer lab?
Yep.
But we haven't paid for them yet.
Correct.
So they are ordered and in. They
Right.
are in.
They-
Okay,
The total of those two did come in a little less. It's a 50,850.
okay.
So it came in a little less than what we anticipated originally.
Thank you. All right. Steph, did you have something? Do you want mine? You can have mine. Oh, look at that.
Was in the packet.
We got it at the last, we got it a little bit. I think so. I think so, yeah. So anyway, there's those two items that we had reallocated into the non-lapsing from this year's budget, but now the way this year's budget is trending, we could pay for those out of this year's budget. And just a little bit less would be going into the non-lapsing. So we'd basically be reallocating it back. We've already approved the expense. They're obviously in. It's just where do we want to pay for it? So I'm open to any discussion on that.
Does it affect anything? I mean, it's essentially the same thing that we were talking about with
It is
Chromebooks, right?
basically, yeah.
Which is,
We would pull it, leave it where it is, and then we're just gonna put it all in anyway. So it
are we
doesn't
gonna,
make a
are we
big
gonna have to
difference.
worry about the same thing with the Chromebooks in terms of delivery date? That if it comes past August 15th, it's gonna be flipping things around in different ways, or? Oh, they're here. Okay, so
No,
this
the
is already
Chromebooks
done.
aren't
This
here.
is,
Not the Chromebooks.
no, the Chromebook, but these things are already here. So if we put these into this budget, then we're set.
Right.
They're here and we're good. And we just,
Decide tonight, I will, because they were submitted for payment from non-lapsing, but I can try to stop it. They hadn't come to check yet. So if that's the case, we vote to say, no, we're going to pull it back, we'll pay it from our funds and then leave the money in our non.
I think we could just stay the course, right? Probably from what Chet's saying, the money's just gonna go back into the non-lapsing anyway, right?
yeah, it just rotates through. So it seems like an extra step we don't have to take.
Right, and maybe more confusing. I mean, yeah, okay. Thanks for thinking that through with me. I just, because I thought it was in the 21-22 budget, I'm like, well, maybe we move it back, but yeah, okay,
It's the beauty of the non-lapsing account. We don't have to do
right.
whatever.
All right, so scratch that. Then the next thing would be, do we want to get those few things that the administrators prioritized? Installing the cameras that they already have, the curtain, and then the elementary school hardware for the curtain that we already have that isn't hanging up. So we would want to purchase those, Deb. And the curtain, the elementary school hardware for the curtain, and getting the cameras installed. Right, yep. And then the other thing I think we may want to start looking at is those bulletproof windows for the gymnatorium. I think if we want to approve that expense, or should we get a bid on it first?
I
You wanna
just,
say
to-
it
if I could, as you know, I
Sure.
applied for a grant for that going back about
Yeah,
actually before we moved into the school, because they weren't, the gymatorium wasn't at the time, which is probably 2018-19, which is 4 to 5 years ago, they were about 18,000. You'd really have to go out to bid on that. It'd probably be the same company that won the bid for the new school, because that's what I was relying on when I wrote the grant. But that it was around 18,000 4 or 5 years ago. So you might want to go out to bid on that.
do you think, Peter, it would make sense to wait and see if we've got any grants coming from Fed at this point, or from looking at our ESSER or something? Because I've been reading that more grant money is going to be coming for school safety. Do you think that's something we should hold on, or?
Well, they reauthorized it 4 or 5 times, the grant, until it ran out, which was started about, I would say, 2 years after the unfortunate situation here in Newtown. So I haven't heard of any myself coming out, but you might want to reach out to to your local state senator and state representative to see if they know if there's any. I haven't heard of any, to be honest with you. They didn't give it to us the last time. I'm sure it's because they just gave us a whole whale full of money, bunch of money for the building project. So, and that was one, going back to Tom Dillon being with us today, I had to do an extensive audit on that. It took me like 3 to 4 weeks to go through the whole process to get that done, which I had to audit everything in our all hazard plan. So you should go out to bid on that. Go out to bid anyways. Go over a request for information on what you might think it might cost. I'm trying to remember if I still have the bid somewhere. I may have packed it away. The one that I wrote that we didn't get. So I'll try to see if I can find it.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
So we should probably go out and get pricing on it at least, Steph.
We want to wait until we have the consult and see if there are other things we have to buy, and then maybe sit down and make like a school safety plan purchase sort of.
So
thing.
should we not even get a pricing on it yet?
I don't know. Do you want to see like what's recommended to us?
I'd like to see the bulletproof, at least get some RFI pricing on that, to at least get an idea what that costs. Personally, I'd like to see it done in the summer if we could do it. in the
Yeah.
summer.
I agree with Alex. I recommend that. I think you should, that should be something that should be a priority. Of course, anything else that he comes up with, you can address it as the items come up. So as Tom Dillon comes up with.
Yeah, I feel pretty strongly about that personally.
Phil wants us to brick them up. I don't think we.
Glass is good.
I don't know.
No, I think
Outdoor
so.
light is nice, I think. And
Yeah.
yeah.
There's someone
Um,
who's paying.
So we haven't even decided how we're going to move forward on the audit yet. So my concern would be that the audit comes back and says you should have bulletproof windows, and now we're starting to price it out. It doesn't cost us anything to price them out, does it?
No, you
No,
could,
Totally fine. I just wondered if there was going to be like a more comprehensive plan, and we're going to say, okay, we're going to have this one big project with this one big
Right.
contractor. to
Yeah.
construct.
well, again, just not to interrupt, but our facilities now, except for the windows, have all the high performance standards for school safety. Everything for fire protection, for intruders in the building in terms of double locked doors and so forth. This was one that they didn't do not all the windows in the old gymatorium, because the ones that were the old egress that went, you kind of meandered to the tunnel, those are, I'm going to say, projectile resistant. The windows are, okay. We're not going to get into, they're not really bulletproof. They're projectile resistant, which would allow for a situation where there's a protection there. So, but again, myself personally, I would probably at least get a handle on what the cost would be for doing that.
Can you get me the old bid? You said. You could
I'll try, but I've packed some stuff up that is in storage there in the district. Some that's at my house here. And I've got electronic files, so I will try to do my best to search for it. But I could get in touch with Rusty. Rusty has the name of the company that did the windows for us.
Okay.
All right. So, and that's the company that I investigated to get a price. Obviously, we would have had to, like we did with the 2014-15 grant that we got for $103,000. I mean, you go out for get some prices, but you still have to go out to bid on it when we got Raptor and the magnetic doors and everything. So I'll see what I can find out, hopefully. Okay.
And clearly we won't make any decisions on that till we know more of what comes with, like Steph said, the safety thing and everything else. All right, thank you. And I'll see if I have Rusty's info somewhere too, so I could always
Yeah.
reach out to him as
Yeah.
well.
So do we need to make a motion about doing an RFI then?
For the curtains and the camera install, we do need a motion.
Oh, no, I'm talking for if we want to do an RFI for the windows. Do we need a motion to do the RFI, or they just do it?
I don't think we're doing a formalized RFP. We're just getting an informational price at this point. So we have a more updated.
Okay, I thought
number.
RFI, request for information, right? Isn't that,
Right.
but we don't have to vote on it? I just mean now, can we just say we want an RFI and that's all we need to say?
I don't think we get involved really with a lot of RFPs. as far as-
No, I just wanted to make sure, because so there's our decision that we want an RFI for the windows, right?
And then it's, I
And that's it? Okay. I was just trying to make sure that we didn't need to do something in order to make that happen.
We certainly will vote on it if we decide. to
Well,
fund
In
it.
the end, right, I'm just talking right now to get the information. I want to make sure we're getting the information. That was the final decision, yes?
And then there's two items that the fence, those are scheduled for mid-July, so I want to make sure we're still moving forward. 'Cause I would like to schedule that before I go, so you have a date and when. It's approved and it's on there. I just want to make sure, because it was on the list that we were referring to, not on the, but that if we could have it done before June 30th, before we talk about general fund. He didn't have the time before then, so it's still pending. It's not there. Because it wasn't moved in this system. I will add it to this. Forward from that amount, because it could be a- Yeah, okay. Yep, absolutely. No, I was just, because we were taking out lapsing and saying we would do it from our budget. I just want to make sure now we can put it back where I'm not lapsing.
So we need to, if we're going to do another any non-lapsing purchase for anything new, we need to approve that.
Are we going to go beyond the curtains and the cameras?
Not right
Or-
now. We will work on that list and everything else, but I think we need to get through this transitionary period. We need to see where our budget ends up. We need to see how everything kind of comes out in the next couple of months. Again, utilities are concerning. We have other, I just don't want to go in and deplete that fund at this point.
No, well, I'm not thinking about depleting it either, but I'm still very concerned about the music department.
And I know you are, Lisa, but when we asked our admins, that
Well-
didn't even hit the radar as.
Well, it's just, I saw the email that Allison sent back, and she
Yeah.
said that it was hard to prioritize while out of the building, and she threw those two things out.
Okay,
You know what I mean? So I don't think necessarily there was,
okay.
You know,
Well, can
a
we,
big
can we
go-over.
focus right now on the three things that we know they need, and then we can continue to have further discussion to start prioritizing that stuff?
sure.
Okay. Are you okay with that, or do you want to add the music shelves to the?
No, I'm okay with that,
Okay.
but maybe if it's okay that maybe I had a discussion or ask the admins about it, or if we. could-
Yeah,
or
no,
maybe
that's
if you
fine.
could email
Yeah, I
or-
don't, this isn't like the end of the road for this discussion. I think we need to continue to have this discussion on an ongoing basis, but there are some things that are like so right there, obvious that need to get done, that I would just like to approve that so they can go ahead and move forward with it.
Well, sure, yeah.
Okay. Any other thoughts on that? Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, so we need to get a motion for those three items.
I'll make the most.
The curtain at the middle school, the hardware at the elementary school for their curtain, and the camera install.
As so noted by.
Second, so noted.
All right, discussion?
My only comment would be just that I do feel like we've been considering these for a really long time without taking action. I think it's great that we're taking action on these three, but I do think that we need to push that non-lapsing piece to the forefront in the summer so that we do take a look at where we're prioritizing what needs to happen and try and get those things in place before we start the new school year. So
Okay.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, Jeff.
So we will keep it on the agenda and we'll keep having more detailed discussion on it for sure. I just want, like, for tonight, I just wanted to tick those few things off. It's June 29th of the end of the fiscal year. I didn't want to start. Deb is done tomorrow, technically. So as far as putting in a bunch of purchases and stuff, I just didn't think the timing was quite right at this point, but we will continue the discussion. Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain. All right, Deb, does that make sense, those three things? Okay, thank you.
And I'll check with Greg to make sure at the time where the tech staff will put those in. If there's any electrician or anything else that may be needed now that we reassess that, I'll let you know of any
Okay.
expenses associated with that.
Okay, thank you. All right, calendar, we need to look at July. 26th does not work for this building. We could certainly do it somewhere else, or if we want to look at a date change. Chet's not here. Mr. Hopkins is meeting with his admins on the 13th, so the 13th isn't really a good day for them. It's just going to be starting to pull thoughts and work together on that.
I'm on travel every week in July.
I would be up for the first week of August, and not having a meeting in July would be an amazing thing.
Oh, sure, I had to retire now, huh?
Yeah, right. I really would like the central office to be able to, and the admins to be able to spend the month regrouping, doing what their work they need to do, and not have us getting in the middle of it. to be
I
honest.
love that. Can we maybe do the second week of August? Because Wednesday, the 3rd would be my 20th anniversary. I would not be here. There's no way.
We can stick with our regular schedule, which I think would put us at the 10th. Are we regular meeting on the 10th? Okay, well then can we just?
Well, and especially considering the idea that if we have information regarding a replacement for Jen at that time period, it has to be during a regularly scheduled
Right.
meeting by bylaws. So it would be important that we have.
The 10th is a regular meeting. So how about this? Why don't we not schedule a July meeting? If something comes up, we can always add one and move to August 10th for our next meeting. Does that work for everybody? Don't, no. And that way Troy will have the opportunity to really put some things together for us, tell him where he's at with his, kind of assessing everything, all of that, and then we can start thinking about our next steps. We will put the non-lapsing account on and dig into it and spend some time on it. Okay, Lisa? For everybody, but I don't want you to feel like I'm brushing it off either. So we will definitely do that. Is that okay for you?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, okay, great. And that takes us to public comment. Not seeing any. We can get a motion to go into executive session.
Make a motion to go into executive session.